the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness, keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app, Stop the Madness, keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100. At the table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Check out Reverend Bill Miller's Bible study radio broadcast live on the new STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please listen in and support him as he joins the realm of broadcasting to encourage believers and offer the comfort of God to others across the airwaves. At the table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Also, feel free to contact him for prayer, counseling, and conversation at brobill9608@yahoo.com. That's BROBILL9608@yahoo.com. At the table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100.
STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, before we get started, we want to take a moment and to send off our prayers and heartfelt condolences to the victims of Las Vegas. So let's take a moment of silence and say a prayer for them. 58 people was killed, 515 hurt in the Las Vegas Strip massacre. But first, I just want to say this. In retrospect, Sandy Hook was the end of the U.S. gun debate. Once America decided killing children was bearable, all talk about gun control was done with at that point. Thousands of country music fans ran for cover as a gunman fired on them from a hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. A mass shooting that is now the deadliest in modern U.S. history. At least 58 people were killed Sunday night when a shooter fired hundreds of bullets into the crowd. Another 515 people was hurt in gunfire and in the stampede at the outdoor concert. The gunman, who is identified as 64-year-old Stephen Paddock, unleashed a hail of bullets from the 32nd floor of the nearby Mandalay Bay Casino Resort. And that was really a tragedy. And I don't know what to say. America is accepting everything. But tonight, we're going to celebrate our vice president of STMK Radio 100, Paulette M. Howard, who was also the CEO of Kickback Entertainment. Then we're going to talk with D-Nose in the chat room. Look over some big cases coming out of the court and what is SCOTUS going to do. Are they going to send the death blow to unions? And we're going to see why the DOJ wants your Facebook account. Then we're going to go out on the street and talk with our man on the beat. Sax man, Tone the Stone is in Studio 51 with me tonight. What's happening, Tone the Stone?
What's up, Chanel? What's going on, everybody? STMK Radio 100 is a subdivision of Kickback Entertainment Production. STMK Radio 100 is a licensed podcast web station in the state of Ohio with a music royalty license. We reach over 1.4 billion users in the Google Play online market. Listeners can listen in their cars if you have the 4GE wireless chip, TV, mobile, computers, and our radio station mobile app, Android and iPhone compatible. We have 24-hour online radio cloud server. We are in over 35 markets and 17 cities on internet radio. We are up on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube. We do streaming TV, Ustream TV, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Instagram Live. We are up on internet radio platforms such as Vimeo, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Webcast, and Spreaker.com. And we can be reached at stmkradio100@aol.com.
Hey, 5 months ago, the entertainment world lost an icon, and we lost a great VIP at the STMK Radio 100. And she was our co-host here on Stop the Madness and Keep It 100. Let was forced to be reckoned with, Tone.
Oh, definitely. God
Tonight,
bless her. She'll always be missed.
All right, tonight we're going to look back on her life, and we're going to take a listen to her going home services. Paulette M. Howard was the CEO of Kickback Entertainment and Production. She also held the title of VP of STMK Radio 100 Division of New Artists, Entertainment, Show Production, and Business Risk Management. She can never be replaced, and we're surely going to miss her. And Tone, I want to say, there's so much to talk about, and RIT guy really set something up. So let's take a look back into the times and share our vice president's life and homegoing services with us tonight. Paulette Marie Howard was a pioneer in the music business long before her time. She had an act that she was able to look at something, and in her vision, she was able to set the music and the tone of the artists the way she wanted it to be done. And she put them right there on stage and have them perform that way, and it really send up and send them off. As the CEO of Kickback Entertainment and Production, she produced young rap artists in the city such as K16, Shawnee Mac, and music that's uncanny that everyone just couldn't believe that she had set it up that way. She had a show that she was on. It was called Keep It Real on another station, and that show just blossomed. She had a vision of streaming TV and streaming radio, and she started STMK Radio 100, and it was canny. Out of that vision, how she got the investors and got the equipment and the streamer and set it up, and I really thought that she had really lost Uh, I'll tell you correctness of it. I thought she was crazy. The streamer alone was close to $8,000, and I was really shocked when she started getting the finances for this, and she started breaking it down. And then when we got the license, and then when we became incorporated, and then when she got the music license from BMI, and really went into the industry, and she had knew the ins and outs, and it was uncanny what her vision was. As being the vice president of STMK Radio 100, she brought a base with her that was unbelievable. Kickback Entertainment was out of Atlanta, and the outpour from the fans of hers from Atlanta, LA, the Cleveland section office was unbelievable. Today, STMK Radio 100 is producing shows and airing shows, and it's uncanny how we got it set up to where we're self-sufficient. We don't have to rely on anybody else to bring money into us. We don't have to rely on advertisement. We don't have to rely on doing a certain thing a certain way, and we can keep true to her platform because that's the way she set it up. And I just want to say that there will never be another Paulette Marie Howard, and the music industry has lost an icon. To reflect on that day as being a 32-year veteran law enforcement and seeing death all around me, and doing reportings and other things, that day probably was the hardest time of my life. And reflecting back on what's going on, it's just very, very, what can I say is that it's just sad that the music world has lost the icon. And for me, it touched me much more. But you're going to hear from other people, and we're going to reflect and celebrate her life tonight on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. And we're going to celebrate the life of our vice president here at STMK Radio 100. And we ask you to stay with us and help us to show our love for somebody who got us started and put us on the path that we're on now.
So when me and Let first originally started doing the first radio show that we were doing together, actually I had just recently moved back from Los Angeles, California. I was living out there for a few years, and I was doing a show out there, and she knew all about it. And so when I came back, Let's very ambitious and very driven and determined. She had all sorts of ideas, and she had her hand going in multiple different venues or things at any given time, music, clothing, whatever. So doing the radio show was something she probably always wanted to do, or always had an idea of doing, or would have been up for doing. Something she would have gravitated to, because of the different platforms that could be connected through it. And so anyway, when I came back, she got the idea to do her own radio show, and she got in touch with me because I had that experience from out in LA. So we hooked up with a friend of hers who she knew and who had just moved back from Atlanta, and he was starting his own production company and entertainment production institution, whatever you want to call it. And so the two of them hooked up, got together, they set everything up, and she reached out to me to come in and be a part of this radio program with her, to co-host it and co-produce it with her. And we went from there. I mean, it was like once she had the idea to do it, once she gets an idea, it's only a matter of execution. She gets an idea, and she sets her mind to it. She's going to get it done. She's going to make it happen. So when she told me, I really did. All I had to do was show up and co-host. Be a voice on the show, be a face on the show. She had taken care of everything else, all the logistics, getting everything set up and prepared. And I think it was Saturday mornings. We were going in every Saturday morning, and we started another radio show. It was my second venture into radio production and hosting, and this was all of her baby though, all her effort. She got the idea, she got with her friend and got everything set up and got everything in motion, and we were off from there. It didn't last too long because whatever happened with the guys, the situation he had set up at the building, we ended up maybe a few months we were there doing the show, but it was experience for her and additional experience for me. And then of course she wasn't willing to let it go, so I'm sure Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 was something that was born from our experience doing that radio show when I first moved back from LA.
Paula Marie Howard transitioned at 9:46 a.m. back home to be with the Father. She was surrounded by family, prayer, and songs of praise. She is now resting in the arms of God. I'll let everyone know of the arrangements. Thank you for your support and love of our sister Let. We here at STMK Radio 100 and Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 will always remember her. And on behalf of all her fans, we want to send love out loud, love, peace, and happiness. To the family, she will always be with us in our hearts.
Hey everybody, thank you for coming. We really appreciate all your support and encouragement. I didn't know I was going to be caught up here, but I'm glad. I'm happy and I'm honored to speak on behalf of my auntie. I love her. She was the embodiment of strength and courage and resilience. Never seen anybody in my life stronger than her, or more determined than her. And that's been a motivating force for me for my whole entire life. Whenever I was feeling down or feel like faltering, that woman was the only example I needed to keep pushing on in life. So if I take anything with me, I'm gonna miss her. My life is gonna be so much dimmer from now on without her, but she'll always be a symbol of strength for me to keep pushing on. And I hope she can be that same symbol for all the rest of you too. Thank you.
I'm gonna keep to read this whole dissertation that I got assigned to. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Let the church say amen. Amen. Paulette Marie Howard was the definition of a faithful warrior for Christ and her family, for all that were blessed to know her. Paulette will always define for us what it means to be loyal, and she served as our earthly example of standing in faith, being courageous, and giving endless love. For our family, Paulette's everlasting spirit for the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, the example she set reminds us to stay focused on God, life, and hope. Paulette Marie Howard entered this world on August 7, 1952 in Cleveland, Ohio, the firstborn daughter from the union of Russell A. Howard Sr. and the late Dolores M. Walker Howard LeBrec. Paulette grew up on South Boulevard in Cleveland, Ohio with her siblings, Russell Jr., who preceded her in death, Antonio, Michael, Michelle, Robin, and Sean. Paulette gave her life to Christ at an early age. She was baptized at the Greater Abyssinia Baptist Church and sang in the evangelistic choir. Although Paulette's medical condition prevented her from traveling to the physical temple later in life, she continued to study her Bible and connect with GABC through prayer message, service DVDs, and social media posts. Paulette attended Columbia and Joseph Landis elementary schools. However, in 1963, she was struck with cancer and continued her studies at Sunbeam Rehabilitation Center for Children. By 1967, Paulette's battle with cancer left her paralyzed and wheelchair-bound. However, she never allowed her physical limitations to stop her from living a full and active life. Paulette learned to drive an automobile and experience all of the typical teenage and young adult challenges. She was a bit headstrong and very idealistic and independent. At the age of 18, our grandmother told her it was best for her to have her own place. And so Paulette moved out on her own and lived independently for the next 45 years until moving in with her sister Robin due to deteriorating health. Paulette maintained a zest for life until God called her home. She was a musical genius and a spiritual motivator who had the unique ability to cultivate talent of some of the most unlikely individuals and in some of the most unlikely places. Paulette was not only blessed with an outstanding voice, and she could sing. She composed for other singers and throughout her life received royalties from her published works. She founded a promotional and recording company, Kickback Records, and spent many years helping young artists fulfill their dreams of singing professionally. Paulette was the vice president of STMK Radio 100, a popular forum for discussing today's political and cultural issues, which she partnered with her brother Sean to launch in 2016. And she was the host of the show, Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. Her brother Sean and others will keep her flame alive as they continue her legacy in Royal Family Radio broadcasts. A captivating personality, an engaging individual who loved you first, and you couldn't help but love her back. The gift, however, that Paulette will be most remembered for was her capacity to love everybody and give herself, regardless of the challenges placed before her. Paulette always had a positive word of advice, a big smile, and endless love for everyone. On February 28, 2017, Paulette was admitted to the Hillcrest Hospital ICU due to illness. Even with her indomitable spirit, she was unable to fight back from these challenges. And on June 8, 2017, at 9:46 a.m., just 2 months short of her 65th birthday, Paulette went home to be with God. She went to sleep peacefully, surrounded by family and friends, being lifted up in prayer, and the singing of her favorite gospel music as she transitioned. The world will cherish her memory, including Russell Arthur Howard Sr., 5 siblings, Antonio Howard Lebrecht of Fairfield, California, Michael Edward Howard and Aunt Julie of Euclid, Ohio, Michelle Ann Howard Mitchell and Uncle Albert of Atlanta, Georgia, Robin Carol Howard Cottingham of University Heights, Ohio, and Sean Lewis and Aunt Nita of Cleveland, Ohio. Half-siblings Russell Allen, Tracy Allen, and Trina Allen of Cleveland, Ohio. 46 nieces and nephews, 3 aunts, 5 uncles, and a host of cousins and many, many friends. Thank you all for being here today.
Let us all give praise and thanks, for this is the day that our Lord and Savior has given us an opportunity to gather from far and near to celebrate the life and journey of Paulette. Let us celebrate. Say her name, Paulette Marie Howard. Let's say it again. Paulette Marie Howard. Reverend Cabinet, we thank you, Brother Scott. We thank you, pulpit dignitaries, choir, deacons and deaconess, family and friends who've all gathered here. We thank you for this opportunity to celebrate. My name is Albert A. Mitchell. I represent all of who have come to know this family by way of a relationship with a sibling, a brother or sister, a niece or a nephew, family or friend. You know, I love my sister Warrior. That's how I refer to Paulette. She is a sister warrior. I am married to and am in love with Michelle, her sister, for 30 plus years. When you are invited and allowed to become a part of a family, you bring with you your particular influences and life experiences, both good and bad. But when I came into this family, Mother Dolores became my mother. Antonio, Michael, and Sean became my brothers. Robin and Paulette became my sisters. To the rest of all of my nieces and nephews, first cousins and friends, we are family. We are family. And over the years that I have known this family, been a part of this family, I realized God was giving me one of the greatest blessings that I could receive in my lifetime. He allowed me to witness up close and personal a living miracle. My sister Warrior was a living miracle. Everything about her, she taught me the meaning of faith, hope, and love. You know, I've got a dictionary in my mind. And when I think about what is faith and what it means to have faith, Paulette's name appears first. She was the living embodiment of a person who lived by faith. When I'm looking for an example of hope, I see Paulette, who every day, no matter how she felt, decided to get up and fight, to swing her bat of life. When I'm looking for an example of true and everlasting love, I see Paulette. Young people, let's get our houses in order. That's what my sister Warrior would say today. Get your house in order. You can soar like her with the eagles, or you can walk around with chickens. I think you want to soar with eagles. A life worth living is defined daily. When you look at yourself in the morning, you got to love yourself. You got to see yourself and love yourself. When you come in contact with the first human being God allows you to see, you got to bless them. You got to smile at them. You got to say good morning, have a good day. That's the life of Paulette. I've never heard her complain about anything. She had a spirit of righteousness that influenced her everyday contact with everybody that came in, who was honored to be in her presence. Please love yourself first. Give everyone that come into your presence, give them a hug, give them a kiss. Remember that love will conquer all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before I say anything, I want to say glory to the Father. And I want to thank Reverend Cadmus. He's been a father figure in our family for over 50 years. Theophilus has been like a brother to me since I was 3 years old. I remember walking into this church back in 1962 in shorts and bow ties. Okay? Going downstairs with Mrs. Cadmus for Sunday school. Okay? Mark family. Choir, thank you very much for showing my sister all the love and showing our family the love. I really appreciate it. say is, my sister had a lot of struggles. But my mother instilled in us so much love. And my mother taught us no matter what happens, how it happens, or when it happens, family always stick as one. Reverend Cavness was there with us as a father figure because I didn't know my father. But he was a man to put a foundation up under my feet to lit a fire. Okay? He took me 32 years as a public servant, riding a horse in the city of Cleveland, working right here back in my community, giving the same love that was given to me. That's what I want my nephews and nieces to do. My sons, okay? Come back into this community, get out of the suburbs, and bring it back to where it's supposed to be. Let these young kids sitting next to you understand that there is a future, and there is a man, and it can be a black man that do proper things in his community and raise and protect his women and kids as it should be. That's what we need to do. Now, my sister right here, she was a lot to me, but she was more as a business partner with me. So I'm just going to say it how it is. She never let nothing stop her. When I retired from the Cleveland Police Force 6 years ago, she put me on another mission. Okay? She wanted to be like Donald Trump. She wanted to go on the streaming TV, podcasting, radio. I thought she was crazy. I'm going to tell you right now. She got the equipment, she got the loans, she got our music license, and we are now a podcasting station in the state of Ohio and the first minority station. STMK Radio 100 will never forget our vice president because she had a vision, and she got a vision for all the kids. And the vision is we as the people have to go back to our kids and start training them the proper way. Reverend Cabinet said one thing to me when I was a kid, and I'll never forget this. If you train them the right way, they would never leave the tree. We may fall off the branch, but we ain't gonna never leave the tree. Okay? My sister right there, Robin, everybody in this church love her. I love her dearly too, but everybody love her more than I do. Okay? And the Reverend and them, they did so much for us. And we can never repay them back. I'm going to say that right now. There's some things that you can't get back. There's some things that have no money value. Okay? And one of them is love. And it starts with your heart. And that's the way Paulette was. My sister couldn't walk. And when I first seen her, I was a baby when all this happened. Okay? And she kept me grounded. She kept me going to school. She kept me giving me the leads. She was the nucleus of the family. And this is what I want to say to the family. And I see all y'all sitting over there. I know all y'all struggles. I know what we go through. But one thing, Paulette had her problems, but she was a true believer and a follower of the Son. And the Son said, nobody goes to the Father unless you come through me. Okay? I want everybody sitting here remember this. He said you got to come through him. The Father said that you got to believe the Son is your Savior and died on the cross and resurrected on a Sunday morning. So Sunday morning, I want all y'all to get up and get in here and let the Son know that you are a believer. If you don't do anything else for Paulette when you walk out of here, get to know God. And if you don't want to get to know God, get to know the Son. Because the Son is your Savior. The Father's sitting up on the house. He's sitting on the right side. He's not down here with you. He's not talking to you. The Father said, you come through my Son. We got to remember that. I know I only got 3 minutes, but you know what, Rev, I'm going to take a little bit off. Because I ain't going to be able to do this all the time with my sister sitting there. And I pray to the Lord that I don't have to stand here for none of them sitting in the booth right there. This is the hardest thing in my life, that my 2 favorite women are now gone. But I want all my nephews and nieces, I want y'all, as Bert said, to start taking responsibility of your life. It ain't my responsibility. I raised you. I gave you an education. You walked out in the street as an adult now. It's time for you to stand up as an adult. Take your place on this earth. Start raising your kids. Teaching them how to be respectable and adults. I want everybody to understand that. I'm talking to my family because tough love is the best love. Okay? Now, I know Michelle is going to have to take over now because Paulette's gone. Half the people in the family wasn't talking to somebody. The other people was mad at somebody. Somebody had an attitude because somebody took their inheritance. Somebody mad because they got this. Somebody mad because they got that. But that girl sitting right there was the one that kept the telephones ringing. She kept everybody in the family together. I don't know who it's going to be. But the kids, the cousins, we come here every day in the house of the Lord and tell the same lie and go home and do the same thing over and over. Okay? When you walk out the door today, keep the telephones ringing. Forget all the problems you had. Forget who you don't like. Forget who done you wrong. Our days are numbered. When we came into this world, we didn't have anything on but butt naked. When Paulette leaves out of here, she living out here in a $100,000 limo. Nothing else going with her. And the limo's going to leave her when they put her in that crib. The only thing she got is the father and the son. That's the only thing you're going to have when you leave out of here. I'd like to thank everybody for being here for my sister. I know everybody love her, and I'd like to thank you all for doing what you're doing for my sister, Robin. And I'd like to give all the glory to the Lord. And Reverend Wayne, you know you keep us grounded also. So peace to everybody. And as we say, I want you to remember one thing. Paulette's old saying, as we said on the air, stop the madness, keep it 100. She was my co-host. And every time we got ready to go off there, we always say one thing: peace, love, and happiness. And I want y'all to take that with you. Have a good evening.
I didn't know we had any preachers in the family, but maybe we do now. First, I want to say to my church family here, Greater Abyssinia, and to the choir, thank you so much for showing me love today at a time that's really challenging. You know, I had the waterworks going for a while. Every time anybody would say anything to me, I'd be crying, put my hand up and say, don't talk to me. I can't handle it. Reverend and Thop and Peely and you guys, thank you so much. Trini and Mark. Mark told me that they're going to take care of me today and everything would be okay. The service is beautiful, and I just thank you guys for the singing. It's lifted my spirits. The waterworks are off for a moment, and I just thank you. My sister and I, this is my sister Michelle. She's the Holy Ghost sister. I'm the calm one. So when you guys hear me talking about the Holy Ghost sister, this is Michelle. I'm one that has to write down what I want to say because in times of emotion, I need to stay focused. And so I have my remarks written down. But this is a tribute to our sister, Paulette Marie Howard. 15 years ago this past May, our mother was preparing for her transition. And her one concern was wondering who would look out for Paulette. Because Mommy had been looking out for Paulette since the day she was born. We all told Mommy that week on her deathbed and she was passing on that she need not worry. We would look out for Let. And I called her Let. The interesting thing is Let never realized that we were taking care of her because she was always taking care of us. And if you know anything about Paulette, and you heard what everybody said here today, Paulette was always taking care of everybody. And she always worried about everybody. Didn't matter how ill she was. Didn't matter that God took her legs. It didn't matter that God made her not walk. God gave her so much, a beautiful voice and a beautiful spirit.
Today, as I stand here to let everyone know that we kept our promise to our mother. We made sure that Paulette felt safe, secure, supported, and loved. And Paulette has an unlimited number of friends. It's witnessed and evidenced by all of you here today, and people that have been calling and sending cards and letting us know how much they miss and mourn her passing and how sorry they are to not have her here. But most important to her, the blessing that she cherished above anything else was a committed and loving family. And you see her today, the nieces, the nephews, brothers and sisters who all loved her and adored her. She knew she was loved. There wasn't a moment in her life that she did not know how special she was to each and every one of us and how loved she was. And I know you're probably sitting here today trying to make sense of Paulette's loss, that she's transitioned, that she's moved on to God. But God's will is often beyond human understanding. He understands, he knows what our conscious minds do not know. That the constant infections, the intubations, the other interventions that Paulette had, the doctors were trying to save her life. They were actually wearing her body down. We didn't know that. The week Paulette died, I thought she looked good, and Paulette was just a couple more weeks from coming home. And I told my sister Darlene once when she was really sick, I asked her, I said, Darlene, you see my sister, you look at Paulette? She looked like she's getting ready to transition to me. But she came back and she was looking good, and I thought, okay, maybe we're getting a little more time here. In her mind, she was pushing through, and every day Paulette told me, I am fighting. Rob, I'm fighting. I haven't given up. I'm still fighting. But you can't fight your body when God's ready to take you out of here. You can't continue to battle when God has decided to call you home. So God had a different plan for Let. I thought the transition of my mom and my dearest and best friend Adrian were the two of the most difficult times of my life. I know today that it was God's way of preparing me for Paulette. I would have never had the emotional strength to support her and to make the challenging life decisions that I had to make last week, because my sister wasn't here, and my brother was in the hospital, and my brother was in California. I called my little brother and said, come up. But I was the POA, and I was the one that Paulette told every doctor, you need to talk to my sister before you do anything or ask me anything. And so today, I give thanks to God for giving me the gift of my sister and allowing me to care and protect her for these many years, while she also cared for and protected me, because she was our big sis. I started out saying that Paulette was always looking out for everyone, and so to our nieces and our nephews, I would ask you to honor Aunt Paulette's memory by following the positive example she set for you. She loved you all, and she wanted each of you to reach your highest potential. There is greatness in each and every one of you. And Let's transition doesn't change that. She's not here with you today, but she is in your heart. And so you remember that she was always pushing you all forward. You've got to keep moving in that direction. You've got to continue moving forward and positively fulfill your destiny. God has a plan for you, and he let be in your life for but a moment, because we're all here just for a moment. But you take what Aunt Let gave you, hold it close to you, and do the right thing. Be what Aunt Let wanted you to be. To my brothers and my sister, started out as 7, and now we're 5. 2 are sleeping in God's arms today. They're awaiting the great reunion because God's made a promise to us. Remember that great reunion. I will miss Let's Smile, her feistiness, fearlessness, and her zest for life. But she is forever in my heart. I have such precious memories, and I will see her every time I look into one of your faces, because we all look alike. So I'll end this message with a message to all of you that I shared with my best friend Adrian's family when she went home to be with the Lord. I told him that the will of God will not take you where the grace of God cannot keep you. So be at peace, family. Let us with God. And she is still asking him to cover us. Thank you.
Again, Sean has done the eulogy, so there's no need for another one. So let me just say that my brothers and my sisters, we've come together today to honor and celebrate the life of one of God's most precious jewels in the person of our beloved Paulette Marie Howard. This tenacious and multi-talented young woman was a darling of the Howard household and the gem that shone brightly from the sunrise of her life to the sunset of her journey to be with the Lord. This brilliant young woman set the bar for going forward in spite of odds that would ordinarily inhibit any person from achieving success. Paulette was the kind of young woman that exemplified the sentiment of that which the renowned Langston Hughes alluded to when he wrote his famous mother-to-son poem. It could well have been written to Paulette, and it goes thusly. Well, daughter, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it. It had splinters in it. And boards torn up in places where no carpet was on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners. Sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So girl, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find it kind of hard. Don't you fall now. For I'm still climbing. I'm still going on. Honey, I'm still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Because of the circumstances beyond her control, Paulette could have easily given in to despondency and disillusionment. But Paulette dared to never allow anything or any person to deter her from being the great person that God willed and intended for her to be. You cannot dare understand her obsequies without discerning her to be one in a million, unlike anyone else. We hear so often that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a magnificent thing to utilize and invest in. Paulette utilized that genius mind to achieve unheralded heights and gave to the world myriad blessings that will last for years to come. Not only was Paulette significantly blessed with a productive and prodigious mind, but she was additionally blessed with a pleasing and engaging persona and personality. To know Paulette was to love her, and to be captivated by the magnanimity of her profound spiritual depth and saintly profundity. Raw courage, tenacity, bravery, boldness, audacity, you name it. Paulette was not afraid of anything or anybody. Her calm demeanor did not in any way or form or fashion define her valor, her gallantry and fortitude. She was brave, determined, and always good to a fault. Let me tell you something. In a bear fight, you always need to help the bear because Paulette possessed the wherewithal to help herself. And believe it or not, her gracious, humble spirit would melt and win over the meanest of the meanest. most of her colleagues during her days of fraternizing and frequenting the dangerous streets of Glenville were aware that she was known to be packing, y'all. And anybody who had a problem had better not try to mess with her siblings, her road dogs, or her partner. Underneath that bodacious and rambunctious veneer was a heart of gold that would give you her last dime and go with you not part of the way, but indeed all of the way. So many people benefited from her benevolence and her generosity. Lest I talk too long, let me just engage the Holy Scripture for a word that symbolized the essence of this amazing young woman's life. I think it is well articulated in the life of the Apostle Paul when he talked to his young son in the ministry, Timothy, about his impending departure. This is what he said: "For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. But indeed I have fought," somebody ought to help me here, "I have fought a good fight." I'm trying to hurry on. I fought a good fight. I have finished my course. But above all, I've kept the faith. There are two essential virtues that stand out in the scripture that illustrates and symbolize our dear Paulette. The one is that of all of the disabilities and all of the things that she underwent, she never was one to complain. Never wanted to complain. That song, I think, was written for her when it said, "I won't complain, whatever life is thrown at me." The other is that Paulette would never give up. Never give up. Paulette was indeed a fighter. The Apostle Paul said, "I have fought a good fight." The same can be said of Paulette Marie. She was a fighter who fought a good fight. And you know, a good fighter doesn't always win. But fighting with them, you could always know that you've been in a fight, because this is what Paulette, she was just that kind of fighter. In addition to fighting, being able to fight a good fight, Paulette was indeed a consummate finisher. She never gave up. She never gave in. Whatever life hurled at Paulette, she would never grow weary of well-doing. In some of her toughest moments and some of her roughest moments of pain and disappointment, Paulette would hold to God's unchanging hand. Indeed, Paulette was the kind of person that when life gave her lemons, she made lemonade. When life gave her dirt, she would make bud pies. When life knocked her down, she would never give up, not lie there, because she knew that the ground was no place for a champion. She would always get up and go and get it all over again. Paulette could do this because deep down in the silent and salient recesses of her soul, she knew that if God be for you, somebody didn't hear me. I said Paulette could do this because deep down in the silent, salient recesses of her soul, she knew that if God be for you, who in this world could be against you? Can I get a witness here? She knew that deep down in the silent recesses of her soul, she knew that with God's children, no weapon formed against you would prosper. Hallelujah. And no condemnation will God not adjudicate. To Paulette, God was her refuge and her strength, a very present help in the time of trouble. Paulette could well join the psalmist when he said long time ago, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Paulette could join that David when he said, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. The host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. The war should rise against me, and this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock." Hallelujah. "And now shall my head be lifted above mine eyes round about me. Therefore I will offer in his tabernacle sacrifice of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord." The reason why Paulette could fight such a good fight, never complaining. You know, some folk would complain about a headache when other folks have no toes, no legs. Praise God anyhow. The reason why Paulette could fight a good fight and not complain is because God was the center of her joy. You heard the choir. Jesus was the center of her joy. Let me just tell a couple of poems. You know the poem of Footsteps in the Sand? It is said that one night I dreamed a dream as I was walking along the beach with my Lord. Across the dark flashes scenes from my life. For each scene I noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to me and one belonging to the Lord. After the last scene of my life flashed before me, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. I noticed that many times along the pathway of life, especially at the very lowest and saddest times, there was only one set of footprints. And that really troubled me, so I asked the Lord about it. Lord, you said when I decided to follow you, that you would walk with me all the way. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troublesome time of my life, there was only one set of footprints. And I don't understand that. Why, Paulette says, I needed you most. You would leave me. The Lord finally whispered to her and said, my child, my precious child, I love you. I will never leave you. Never ever during your trials and your testing, when you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you because you could not carry yourself. Let me just sit down for a moment. The story is told of a woman who knew the whereabouts of a church and they gave a scholarship to a young person who was a member of the church. And when that person went away to college, during the Christmas break, he came back and he visited the church. That was his custom on Sunday evenings when he was there. With a desire to demonstrate the great gift that they had given him, the worthiness of his investment, that their investment in him, he decided to demonstrate something of what he had learned while he had gone to college. At the conclusion of the service, when he was recognized, he asked the director to permit him a moment to recite the 23rd Psalm. The director was pleased, and the people gladly watched that young man as he strode with youthful steps to the podium of the auditorium. He did a splendid job of reciting the song. His clear, resonant voice indicated a mastery of diction and inflection as he crossed every elocutional T and dotted every meticulous I. When he finished, there was a spontaneous burst of applause and cheers, but in the back of the room, there was an elderly lady who, inspired by the young man's excellent delivery, raised her hand and asked permission to say a word to that gathering. The hour was late and the people were rather restless, but the director gave his hesitant approval. Slowly, that aged woman made her way down the aisle, leaning on each pew as she passed. For the snow of winter had gathered in her hair, and her back was bent under the weight of decades. When she got to the podium, she was out of breath and leaned on the lectern. She said softly the words of that same song. Her voice was weak, her diction was poor, her formal education had ended with grammar school, and her pronunciation and enunciation left much to be desired. But when she finished, mothers began to clasp their hands and cry, and fathers who had never cried before began to cry. The spirit of the people were moved as the rushing wind moved the trees. Later, someone asked the director, what was the difference between those two speakers? Why was it when that college student spoke, the people cheered, but when the woman spoke, people began to cry? The director, with a light in his eye, said, I know the difference. That student knew the song, but that old saint knew the shepherd. My brothers and my sisters, I want to sit down now. But when you know the shepherd, can I get a witness here? I said, when you know the shepherd, you know that earth has no sorrow, that heaven cannot heal. I said, when you know the shepherd, you know that when this earthly house of our tabernacle is dissolved, thank God we have another building. Somebody here know what I'm talking about. We have another building not made with hands, eternal in the heaven. That's the reason why the Lord said to the family, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me, for in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you I go away to prepare a place for you. And if I go away to prepare a place for you, I will come and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. What we have before us here is not Paulette. The other day, God called that spirit with her from labor to reward, and she's now resting in the bosom of Jesus Christ. I tell you, when you know the shepherd, you know that joy will ultimately come. You heard David say in Psalm 30 and 5, he said, weeping endures. Can I get some help here? He said, weeping endures for a night. Can I get a witness? Weeping, crying endures for a night. But joy comes early in the morning. Anybody here know anything about that joy? The hymnologist said, this joy I have. The world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world cannot take it away.
Officer cannot sue Black Lives Matter because it is a social movement. A U.S. judge ruled on Thursday, finding the campaign could not be held responsible for injuries he got at a protest. The unidentified officer sued Black Lives Matter and an activist involved in a July 2016 protest in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where the officer was struck by a rock. But the judge found the officer had not made a sufficient case against such a group or an individual involved and dismissed the lawsuit.
Welcome back with us. Welcome Facebook Live, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, and Flippergram. We just got finished with going back over the service of our vice president and celebrating our 1 year of broadcasting here in the Cleveland market and across the thing. And on the telephone with us today out of the 216, we got Mr. 216 himself. Welcome, Mr. 216.
Well, hello, good evening. I like the intro.
Hey, you looked at that, and I want to say this for everybody. We had a big show on Black Lives Matters and about it being a group and a hashtag, and the federal court has ruled in, and we want to go back on that the federal court has said that Black Lives Matters is not a group, it's a hashtag, and entities use that hashtag, so you cannot sue them for something somebody else do. So what you think about that, Mr. 216?
I'm pleased to hear that they won that battle in this war that they are in. Like, that's beautiful. I'm glad to hear that.
Hey, and right here with us in Studio 51, Tone the Stone.
What up, Chanel? What up, Stop the Madness? Mr. 216, man, it's good to hear that voice, man. Long time no see, my brother. How you been? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Living and learning as always. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. That is, I think that's a sensible decision on the Black Lives Matter. That, I mean, come on, man. Like, the cops are just trying to fight fire with fire, or these particular officers, or whoever's responsible for bringing these cases to the courts. Come on, man. That's just compounding the frustration and the nonsense that's going on.
I agree with that, but my problem was that you had the People Revolutionary Communist Party on the square. You had Black on Black on the square, the Black Man's Army on the square. You had Mothers Against Violence Against Children on the square. And everybody just lumped everybody together and started calling them Black Lives Matter, okay? And what people don't really understand, and we want to go into this, is that Black Lives Matters was a hashtag that 3 college kids made up after the Ferguson case. Okay, it wasn't even a saying then. It was one college kid saying to another one on Twitter, when they couldn't believe that the prosecutor wasn't going to prosecute, and somebody said, wow, I guess lives do not matter. And then the one college student said, all lives matter. Then another one said, Black Lives Matter. And that caught on as a hashtag.
Right. It's a sentiment.
Right. And the federal courts, just to go into that, the federal courts said that police officers who brought the lawsuits, that and he really lit into this. The court opinion, we put it up and we talked to the judge involved. A federal judge dismissed a lawsuit by the Baton Rouge cops on Thursday against Black Lives Matter and one of the movement's prominent activists, noting that Black Lives Matter is a social movement and thus cannot be sued. But the U.S. Judge Brian Jackson said that Black Lives Matter is not an entity of any sorts and cannot be sued. Although many entities have utilized that phrase, Black Lives Matters, in their flyers, titles, and business designation, Black Lives Matter itself is not an entity of any sorts. So you can't pin that on nobody, okay? Right. And in the courts, the plaintiff out of Louisiana show where Black Lives Matter was and that he wasn't a part of a group called Black Lives Matter.
You know what the sad part about it is? The wasted time and taxpayers' money, because that's common sense, man. If they're not like a registered LLC or something called Black Lives Matter, and the specific members are the ones throwing rocks or hurting officers at these protests, then who are you suing, and what are you suing for?
Well, the court also ruled that only person, even if I have a permit, and these are some big rulings because Mr. 216, if you didn't watch the rulings coming down from SCOTUS next week about unions, the Republicans, you remember all the police unions backed the Republicans. Okay, remember Donald Trump, all the police. The Republicans are getting ready to kill unions. Okay, the case coming back out of Texas is a case filed by a Republican who feels that he shouldn't be forced to be in a union, and his union dues go to political people, so he sued the union. Okay, the union, if you remember, one of the SCOTUS has died, so it was 4-4. They couldn't come to the settlement, and they let the lower court decision stand. Okay, a gentleman out of Indiana has refiled the suit, and the SCOTUSes have picked up the case, and now that the Republicans had the majority in the Supreme Court, the ruling expected to come out is that nobody can be forced to be put in a union, and you don't have to pay your fair share.
That makes sense to me.
So,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
What the Becca what Tone was saying, I think I'm a little off right now, but the whole case to me sounded like it was a scare tactic to go, like, because they don't like hearing Black Lives Matter. They put the black and blue and white flag up saying Police Lives Matter. Like, they do not like hearing Black Lives Matter. And I think the whole case was a scare tactic, and it backfired on them. They don't want to hear that no more. So they trying to fight it where they can fight it at.
But I'm like this. I believe that police officers injured in confrontations should be able to sue. But my problem is
they should sue the person that hurt them.
Well, not on that. But my problem is society lumping everybody in one group. Okay,
Right.
That's where I have a problem with. I have a problem where if you come out against certain thing, everybody's got to be the People Revolutionary Communist Party. Okay, their goal is to overthrow the government. It's not police brutality. It's not Black lives. Their goal is to overthrow the government, and they come out to protest with people to push their goal and to push the issue over. Because if they came out on the square, wouldn't nobody come out there? Okay, look at Art McCoy. Look at Art McCoy. Let's be for real. All of us from Cleveland, look at Art McCoy. If Art McCoy went down on the square like he's going to be Sunday, protesting against NFL, okay. Now he going down for Colin Kaepernick. The VFWs are going down against players kneeling. Okay, other people coming down there. Now, nobody's going to be there with Art McCoy. Okay, nobody's going to be over there with the VFW. Everybody's going to go to the game, drink their beer, and go as they usually go. Okay, now when the People Revolutionary Communist Party wants to put out their literature and everything, they're going to come over here with Art McCoy. Okay.
You know what's going to be the most spectacular thing going on in Public Square this weekend? They having a $20 million luxury exotic car exhibit downtown in the square.
Well, not only that, I think the Indians getting ready to the Indians and the Yankees.
And the Indians.
The
Yankees gonna make up for last season. But to your point about this whole the People's Republic, all of this stuff, man. That's the if anybody stops to take the time to think about all the frustration and all the problems and chaos going on in this world, it all stems from people trying to force their beliefs and force their will on everybody else. So going back to what you were saying about the unions, it makes sense. Like, you shouldn't be forced to join a union if you don't want to. You shouldn't, especially if you're not going to never utilize whatever so-called benefits you're supposed to be getting from it. So that's money you're just giving away, and those union bosses are lining their pockets. They've been doing that for years.
I can tell you right now. I think a lot of unions is getting ready to fold. Okay, and I'm gonna be serious about this. A lot of police unions going to fold because people, believe me, if they can opt out, they're going to opt out. And as membership opt out, even though the union's negotiating the contract, guess what? Whatever contract the union negotiate for you, the city has to pay me under the Fair Wage Act. Okay, so it doesn't make a difference what it is, and whatever rules the union holds, the city holds you to, they got to hold me to. So that's why you have non-city employees and union employees, and they both get the same. So I think a lot of unions is getting ready to fall over. And the biggest problem is that the unions now, especially law enforcement unions, cannot come back to the Democratic Party and ask for the help to vote down or vote out to there. So this law is going to take effect, and I see it coming. Mr. 216, we thank you for coming with us, brother. And hey, stay with us on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100, Facebook Live. We got Florida in the house. What's up, Jackie? YouTube, LA, Michael Wilson in the house with us, and our 17 cities. And Mr. 216, we're going to have to get you in the studio so you really can let us know what's up.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Now, that was Mr. 216 out the city of Cleveland. And we're going to go into the field, as we said, with the police union before we go into the chat room with D Knows. Right happened right there, Tone. The ruling for Black Lives Matter is really a big ruling. And the only case that is still going right now, which I think this is going to be forced to the Supreme Court, because the only case that is active is the case in Dallas, where the Dallas Police Department filed a lawsuit against some protesters after that tragic incident. And I do believe, I think the Dallas District Court will rule the same as the other 5 federal judges, and these are Republican judges ruling this. So it's not a Democrat judge or a judge appointed by Obama or anybody. These are Republican judges making a ruling. So we're going to find out what's going on. And I think right now, the Dallas case, they pulled it back to another for another phase in an attempt to judge shop so they can get it to the Supreme Court. But everybody on Facebook, you remember that we had that show where everybody was arguing about it was a group, it wasn't a group, and we said it wasn't a group. Well, the federal court agreed with us. And going on the unions, before we go out to our man on the beat, the unions, I think, Tone, as I said, that's going to be a death sentence for unions.
Well, they're going to have to figure something out. But like I said, the decision makes sense to me,
Well, I'm going to tell you this. When you don't have to pay your money to the union, you're talking about $75 a month. And then when you don't agree with what the union doing, once SCOTUS tells the cities that you don't have to be a member of this union, okay, and you can go to the city and say, don't give this union no more of my money, and you still going to get the same rights as the union, I see a lot of people opting out. Matter of fact, I see a lot of unions going under.
I know for a fact, because I hear them complain all the time about the paying the dues, and they don't never utilize whatever services they're supposed to get now. So they wish they didn't have to.
Right. So that's going to be a big decision. Everybody needs to look at that decision coming down from SCOTUS probably in June on you do not have to be a member of the union. The Supreme Court is posed to deal a sharp blow to unions for teachers and public employees. The Supreme Court is getting ready to make a blow to unions such as the FOP, the trade workers, that represents millions of employees and public service workers and teachers association. They announced Thursday that they will consider striking down the mandatory fees that support collective bargaining. The justices will hear the case of Mark Janus of Illinois state employee who objected to paying fees to the union would represent 35 state workers. The decision is due by June. It could prove very costly and a setback for public sector unions in 22 states, including California, Ohio, New York, Washington, D.C., Florida, and Texas, where such fees are authorized by law. Labor experts have predicted that a significant percentage of employees will stop supporting their unions if given a chance, and that the other 28 states that have a right to work laws that forbid requiring workers to join unions will support the SCOTUS's, and Donald Trump will not intervene of striking down unions. And I want to come back to that where it says Donald Trump will not intervene in striking down unions is because he doesn't want union workers at his hotels and everything. So don't expect Trump to come out for unions. And I'm going to say this again. 2 years ago, when they came up with police reform, go back into some of the things. I told you that a backdoor to Senate Bill 5 was coming, and everybody kept saying, no, we voted it down. It ain't coming back. It's not going to happen. Well, folks, the back door, you let them in there. Now you're going to pay the price, because now not only are they going to they're not going to wipe out unions, but they're going to tell people that they do not have to pay money to get into a union, nor do they have to pay anything for what the union do.
Oh, really?
That's
so
correct.
the union will still exist, but it'll be free. It'll be a.
That's correct. In the city of Cleveland, they have what is known as a closed shop, which means regardless whether I want to be in the union or not, I got to pay the same union dues that everybody else pay. Okay. The SCOTUS and the law is going to be now that Sean doesn't have to be in your union. So that means I don't have to give you none of my money. Okay.
But you'll have the option. But so say you do want to opt into the union. Are those people who want to be a part of the union, are they going to have to pay fees?
They can be a part of the union. But as it says right here, as it come back, a great percentage of employees, if have the option to leave the union, will leave the union. Just think of this right here. Let's talk about the city of Cleveland, the problem going on with the CPPA right now, okay? With backing of Trump, the dislocation of the Browns and everything else. So let's say this. And the problem they have with the Black Shield. So say the 600 officers decide I'm leaving that union. It's going to bankrupt it. You can't keep it up. The minute one person gets sued, who's going to pay? How the fund's going to stay up?
Right.
Okay. Who's going to pay for?
Now you're specifically about the Black Shield in this.
Well, I'm speaking about any union.
Okay, because the Black Shield, like that was never a mandatory thing anyway. Like
right. But I'm talking about like the Cleveland Police Patrolman Association.
Right.
You have a legal fund.
Right.
Okay. If I do something, if I'm a member of your union and I do something on duty in the performance of my duties, and I get charged, you got to represent me. So that can run into the thousands. What if I'm charged with murder? What if you have to represent me? Okay, you can tell me that you're gonna I can represent myself, because I know a case where they made a person represent themselves, but when he won his case and he filed his thing, they have to come back and pay him for it. What's happening there, Sergeant Reese? Hey, thank you for showing us some love. Facebook, YouTube Live. Russell Wilkins sitting in the I-10 traffic again. He's telling us he's listening to us on internet radio. Hey, Russell, welcome to the chat room. Thank you for showing us some love right here.
I know what that IT is like. He might as well start traveling with a 10 in the car.
Hey, that's it.
Pitch
hey,
on the side of the road.
Earlier, we did a celebration for our VP and CEO of Kickback Entertainment. I want y'all to go back into Demand and listen to that, because we couldn't let it go across Facebook because our contractual obligations right there. But we're going to go right now into D Knows, into the chat room. And D Knows what's happening, and tell us what they're talking about this union.
Well, Chanel, the chat room is on fire, and they're letting their opinions show. D.W. Brown, 1776. Good. Maybe this will cut down on the union bribes, campaign contributions to legislators for obscene pensions and unrealistic wages. Tito Flanders. Good. It defies common sense that one should be forced by a private sector organization to financially support views one disagrees with. Sharath G. Our education system really needs to improve, and Republican government will see to it that it doesn't, as their party's survival depends on poorly educated masses who are barely struggling to survive. If you are struggling to put food on the plate, political issues, even if they impact your ability to. Humble tricks. These right-wing justices are fascist, anti-American traitors who don't belong in any court or in any position of authority. Always busy. Someone posted teachers make $110K. Can that poster please let all of us know what district pays that? LOL. And on the lighter side, Funny Side 88, I got the funny chair now. Driving to work, a gentleman had to swerve to avoid a box that fell out of the truck in front of him. Seconds later, a policeman pulled him over for reckless driving. Fortunately, another officer had seen the carton in the road. The policeman stopped traffic and recovered the box. It was found to contain large upholstery tags. I'm sorry, sir, the first trooper told the driver, but I'm still going to have to write you a ticket. Amazed, the driver demanded to know the reason. The trooper replied, tax evasion. And that's what's happening in the chat room with these no's.
Officer cannot sue Black Lives. Officer cannot sue Black Lives Matter.
On the phone out of Cleveland, Ohio, out in the street is our man, Sax Man. What's up?
What's happening, Sean? Hey, is Tone in there?
Yeah, Tone is sitting in the thing, Sax Man, and we want to know right now. Did you hear? Wait a minute, Sax Man? Wait a minute, Sax Man. I want to know. Everybody want to know something right here in the chat room.
Here we go. Here we go.
You know, we had this conversation, but I want you to listen to this.
Officer cannot sue Black Lives Matter because it is a social movement. A U.S. judge ruled on Thursday. Officer cannot sue Black Lives Matter because it is a social movement. A U.S. judge ruled on Thursday.
So, Sax Man, tell us right now what's going on in the street and what they saying about that ruling.
Well, I spoke to another officer, a friend of mine. We was talking about that, and he made a good point to me. Now, this is just my opinion, his opinion too. Okay, since it's a hashtag, so you can't really blame Black Lives Matter if someone runs around and use their rhetoric to commit havoc. Okay, what if a group like the neo-Nazis wants to say, we're going to say kill all niggers, hashtag, and got everybody else running around saying kill all niggers? What do you think that's going to do to others that's on that same level? They're going to listen to that, and they may go out there and commit havoc and start killing all niggers.
All right. Well, the courts.
Oh, well, no, you can't hold me responsible because it's a hashtag.
But the court, but the courts has ruled that you have to hold the person that's committing the act responsible.
I understand that.
Hey,
but
Sax.
They're using the reference that they hear from other people.
Hey, Sax.
So it's the same thing.
Sax, what's going on, brother? Listen, those two things don't compare at all. But the bottom line is, say farewell to your get-rich-quick scheme, man, and all the other police officers who will try to use that as a get-rich-quick scheme, man. Find a better way to come up with the moolah.
But Sax, but before you respond to that, Sax, hold on, before you respond to that, because I got to jump in there right now and I got to bring it back. There's another thing that we want to talk about in the chat room. They're talking about, since you're out on the street, the SCOTUS is striking down and giving a death blow to unions.
Ooh, yeah, I know. That's only because a lot of people don't understand what unions. This is once again my opinion. A lot of people don't understand what unions are really here for. They're serious old schoolers like yourself and myself, Sean. We understand what the unions are for, but a lot of people don't look at the unions as being beneficial now. So because the majority feels we don't want to pay for benefits that we're not going to use, or it's not necessarily, why should I spend my money? We don't need it. Boom. Everyone says, yeah, and everyone's jumping on a bandwagon, and they don't realize some of the benefits of having a union. So that's what's going on. That's why they had to go to the Supreme Court to get this ruling to strike it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying it might come back to bite a lot of people in the butt later.
Well, we already know what's going to happen right here on the right to work state. If they take the unions away, I do know this for a fact, just going around taking a survey, that 25 to 40% of the people in the union will get out. Okay. and that's going to cause a strain on the union as far as the legal funds, as far as everything. So when you start taking away those dues, that's going to cost. But wait a minute, Michael Wilkins is sending something to you, Sax Man, and this is just strictly for Sax Man from our man stuck on the I-10 in California, listening to us on internet radio. And yes, we got your call, Russell Wilkins, and yes, we're going to tell Sax Man what you said.
Either you're part of the solution or goddamn it, you are the fucking problem. Either you're part of the solution or goddamn it, you are the fucking problem.
Okay, there you go. That's our man, Russell Wilkins. He sent that to you out of the chat room.
Shy, you know what I think you should do? You need to send that to Sax so he can make that his ringtone, man. He need to hear that around the clock.
So, Sax Man, what's going on here that everybody's talking about? Is Trump going to outlaw? I mean, are the Republicans and the NRA also going to outlaw bump stops?
As far as what weapons, you mean?
The butt stop that turns a semi-automatic weapon into a close to automatic weapon.
No, they're not going to outlaw it. It's not going to happen. It's too many good old boys in charge that don't want it to happen. So it's not going to happen. We just a minority compared to the majority. It's not going to happen.
So once again, because I said this earlier when we was on the first hour of the show, that when America allowed our kids to be gunned down in a school, and we couldn't even sit at a table and debate it, that was the end of gun control. Because once you said it was bearable for your kids to get killed, I don't see any gun control coming on anything now.
Right.
And I really have a serious problem with that. It's not that abandoning guns. It's not about outlawing guns or anything else. I think that we need to sit down and actually have a talk.
It's a conversation, exactly. I agree.
Okay.
And we can't even get to that point to even go into gun control. We can't even have a discussion about it. I agree with you, Sean.
So what's going on here? You have a multi-millionaire, rich, living a healthy, good life, and he kills 58 people. What if that's the case now? What are we looking for? I mean, what is the profile, Sax Man? How can we tell? I mean, this is thrown everything out of whack. Okay, here go a guy that got
the top of the job. This has been the top of the job all week. We've been talking about this at work all week. On patrol, sitting in the squad room,
and
we've been talking, man.
And the biggest problem. Sax, I want to say this, the biggest problem that everybody's talking about, I was just at a violent roundtable. He picked and chose who he wanted to kill. He scoped it out. He scoped out the venue. He scoped out where he was at. And I want to say this, that everybody hasn't found out yet, but maybe you have, that a security guard is the one. Once again, our private police citizens, not properly armed or equipped, doing their job. He confronted him, and he got shot almost like 200 rounds on top of him. But he stayed there and helped the police. Okay,
that's never give private police the proper
right, and that's the unsung hero right here. I want everybody to know the unsung hero out of Vegas is the security guard who went up on that floor and confronted the gunman and got shot at 200 times. Minimum 200 rounds was fired at the security guard. He was shot, I think, twice or whatever, and he didn't leave. He stayed there. So when you see security guards or you see people out there doing security, say hi to him, okay? And
show some respect.
And he wasn't a first responder. He wasn't a public servant. He didn't have.
He was probably making $10 an hour, no insurance.
Right.
But he's up there doing the job of a police officer.
And he didn't have to do that. So I want everybody, when you see security people and our first responders, you know I always give you out your love for the first responders, even though Tone the Stone and Sax Man go at it. You know that I'm a first responder hero. In the house, we got Florida on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Instagram. Michael Wilson sitting on the I-10 for the next 3.5 hours.
He's probably been in the same spot for the last 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. You're listening to us on internet radio. Hey, our 17 sister city Sachs, I want you to hold on because our 17 sister cities has to go take their break and go through their identified stations right there. So we're going to go out with them and let them go on a break, and then we're going to be coming right back. We're going to pay some bills. So hold on the line, Saxon man, because we're not done with you yet because we got some more talking about, Wilkins. And the people in Florida and Savannah in the house and ATL, thank you for coming with us. And Facebook Live, we got Mickey in the house, a.k.a. Sonny. Hey, that's a real treat to have him on there. So we really moving up on our show right there. But we'll be right back. Everybody just hold on with us.
For a new program, Driving Profitable Growth, taking place in Boston from October 25th through the 28th. This program focuses on business expansion and organizational growth strategies that can lead your company into the future. Learn more about this 3-day program for senior leaders by visiting hbs.me/growth. That's hbs.me/growth.
AP Radio News. I'm Tim McGuire. The White House, Congress, and National Rifle Association coming together on regulating so-called bump stock devices like the ones used by the Las Vegas shooting suspect. Sagar Magani with details.
The devices essentially allow the gunman to convert his semi-automatic rifles into fully automated killing machines. Top Republicans are signaling a push to regulate the devices, and in a surprise move, the NRA is signing on, calling for the government to look into whether bump stocks are even legal. After the organization issued a statement, the White House said it wants to be involved.
It's something we're very open to.
Spokeswoman Sarah Sanders saying the administration will look at any step it can to avoid another incident like the Las Vegas shooting. Sagar Magani at the White House.
Pennsylvania Congressman Tim Murphy, an anti-abortion lawmaker who allegedly urged his mistress to have an abortion when he thought she was pregnant, is resigning from Congress. House Speaker Paul Ryan says Murphy's resignation takes effect October 21st. Readying for the storm.
I have instructed all departments and agencies to begin executing their emergency plans to ensure that we are leaning forward and we are best prepared for whatever it is that comes our way.
New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu telling reporters the city has to be prepared for now Tropical Storm Nate, which is expected to reach hurricane strength when it arrives at the U.S. Gulf Coast this coming weekend. Heavy rain from Nate has touched off flash flooding in Nicaragua and Costa Rica, killing at least 22 people. And it's not just this year. Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Maria, Jose, and Lee have raged across the Atlantic, contributing to what appears to be the most active period for major storms on record. An analysis of 167 years of federal storm data by the AP found no 30-year period in history has seen this many major hurricanes, this many days of whoppers spinning in the Atlantic. This is AP Radio News. Vice President Mike Pence, in the first meeting of the National Space Council, announces an ambitious goal.
We will return American astronauts to the moon, not only to leave behind footprints and flags, but to build the foundation we need to send Americans to Mars and beyond.
Few details, such as cost, were mentioned at the first meeting of the revived National Space Council since it was disbanded in 1993. Harvey Weinstein, Hollywood executive, Oscar winner, taking a leave of absence from his own company after an expose revealing decades of sexual harassment against women, from employees to actress Ashley Judd, was published in the New York Times. Two company officials tell the Times that at least 8 women have received settlements from Weinstein over the years, including actress Rose McGowan, who allegedly had an incident with him in 1997. I'm Tim McGuire, AP Radio News.
You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone.
Hey, Facebook Live, YouTube, Instagram, LA, Florida, Jacksonville, ATL, and Washington, D.C. in the house. And everybody, I want you to know we got the Hat Lady on Facebook Live. She makes some bad hats. And coming in a couple of weeks, we're going to have some of her stuff and we're gonna show it to you. And she making hats just for the station. And Tone, we're gonna have to get you in there too. Sax man, we're gonna bring you back up into the heat of the matter right here where we was at before we went on our national break. Russell Wilkins is telling us in the chat room they still on their break out in L.A. Well, Russ, you're going to have to listen to us on Facebook Live because there's nothing I can do about that right now. That's radio for you, okay? They got to pay their bills. So, Sex Man, what are they going to do with all these people with I mean, he had 47 AR-15s.
Okay.
I mean, it's too late. I mean, how are you going to get all these guns that all these guys got?
Let me tell you, he got them into the hotel without being noticed. So let's talk about that.
Okay, but you really have wait a minute. I could take a bazooka into the hotel and nobody's gonna say anything. I can bring 1,000 bags into the hotel. Ain't nobody gonna check my bags, okay? And if I don't want the housekeepers in there, all I got to do is tell them don't come in. Okay.
You just put a do not disturb sign.
Right. So I mean, come on. I mean, that there alone is there's nothing can be done because I want to tell everybody this as being a ex law enforcement officer, and now I'm a Cotique Monday morning quarterback. Okay. I love that Monday quarterback. I said it. Y'all don't have to say.
Morning, go ahead.
Okay. Is that when a person say that's it, I'm going. Okay, just like he woke up, he had everything in life that anybody wanted: women, prestige, money, cars, everything. Okay, when he decided to go, that's it. He's going, and there's not no police officers that's going to stop him. There's no laws that's going to stop him.
And the thing about this guy is that, like, that wasn't just like he woke up that day and like, you know what, I'm going to. This was planned out in advance. This was
that's all been pre-planned.
Well, the problem I have with this, Tone, this is the problem I have with this. Everybody want to say he has mental problems. James, I want you to in about 5 minutes, James, we're gonna get Saxman off the line, and I want you to call in because I want to talk to James about this because James had a heated conversation in the chat room and on Facebook about that, talking about what we just talked about right now.
Okay.
And I want everybody that's listening to me, when I get the hats from the hat lady, we're going to put her information out in the chat room and everything, and I want everybody to get a hat from her. We want to set her up. She's making 4 good hats for us. We're going to get some more made. Matter of fact, Tony Stone, we're going to have to get you one made, so I'm going to have to re-introduce her. I forgot to tell her we're going to get that done because she's making special hats just for our radio station.
Cool.
And we appreciate that and the love.
So let me ask you this question. I thought me and Tony Stone was the star of the show. Now, you picking stars off, bringing everybody else up in there.
But you know what? You and Tony Stone, y'all done had y'all little ring, okay?
You know what he's doing since he politicking with somebody.
That's
you
right.
Know that.
We're hey, we got to go out there. But Saxman, this is what I want to say here, okay? He made his decision he was going to go, okay? And they want to say it's mental health, okay? But the problem I have when you try to say that it's mental health is a person to get a gun and just go in there and start shooting or whatever. This guy came 3 days prior to a shooting. He put cameras out so he can watch the SWAT team come up. He put explosives and stuff. That's not mental illness, people.
Well, it depends on what sort of mental illness you're talking about, because he's definitely a psychopath. That's psychopathic.
Well, I'm talking about
But if you're talking about retarded or something, no, he's not retarded. He's.
But when society talk about mental illness, they're not talking about that. They talk about something. They talk about like he's nuts. He should be on a yellow bus.
The guy, the guy that shot up, the kid that shot up Sandy Hook, the elementary school. He had an actual mental problem. Okay, this guy in Vegas is nowhere near that type of medical problem. That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's really an enigma. Like, it's crazy because nothing to suggest why what would lead him to this. They said he wrote a letter right before he killed himself. I don't know if the details of what.
Well, the sheriff said he didn't leave a letter. See, we're getting so much information
I read just earlier that he wrote a letter right before he killed himself.
Well, I want to know, and I'm going to say this in the thing, and Saxman, as the law enforcement officer, what did he had to be stealing something?
What do you mean stealing? Like
stealing somebody else's money?
Oh no, you know what? I'm thinking
No,
like
you mean
the
like
most
he
credible
was
thing
in
that I've heard
Beverly?
Yeah.
is that he lost a bunch of money gambling, and maybe that drove. But that still doesn't. That's not enough for me to
But why
to,
would you
to do something like this.
why would you stake out? Wait a minute. Why would you stake out
yeah.
okay? He staked this venue out. Okay.
Yeah.
He booked something in Chicago. He booked something in Chicago, but he couldn't get in Chicago because probably he had to take all the weapons driving, and he didn't want to get profiled and get stopped. You know, he was worried about getting stopped in Chicago.
He wasn't gonna get profiled.
And so he goes to Vegas. He's a high roller. He got all this money, okay? And he stakes out this. I mean, why did he stake out the country music thing? I mean, all this stuff is mind-boggling.
Right.
Okay. I mean, really is, and we really need to get to the bottom of it. But Sex
I
Man,
can understand why he took the 30-second thrower because he wanted to have the advantage over the first responders. He could see everything. He has a clear field of fire from both ends.
Oh yeah, everything was strategic about this.
but okay,
I understood that.
okay, but let me say this. Ask you this question, Sex Man. If he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to take I don't think he wanted to deal with the first responders, okay? Because if he had enough weaponry up there, he could have ran the first responders back down to the first floor, okay? Plus, he had explosives he never brought into play, okay? So when the first responders came, he opened up on them. He shot at the security guard. We know he shot at him 200 times, okay? But then he killed himself. So I don't think the first responders really played a key into this. I think he picked the 32nd floor because he wanted to have that venue where he had 22,000 victims to his disposal. Okay, and it's very a tragic situation. And I'm gonna tell America, and I'm gonna come back over into this. If we don't right now sit at the table, Republicans, Democrats, Trump haters, Trump supporters, the KKK. I'm talking about everybody right now. If we do not sit at the table and start talking and stop all this hate and come together about what's going on here, we're going to continue to have this role. And I'm going to say this: the Vegas shooter was just the beginning. Okay,
Because we had the other shooter that happened at that theater. The guy with the orange hair thought he was the villain. I mean, the Joker.
Right, but
he was the first one.
But you have to look at this.
It wasn't the first one, Sachs. This
been going on.
So many of these incidents throughout history.
The thing what everybody need to think about, Tony Stone, is again since 2011, 2001, the 9/11. Everybody who committed an act of terrorist on American soil has been domestic terrorists. Okay, and I'm gonna say this because everybody goes back to when Clyde Bundy and them pointed guns at the first responders and law enforcement and threatened them. Okay, and nobody responded and did anything.
Nobody did nothing.
Okay, and this is the disproportion of what's happening when people's protesting, like Black Lives Matter, Colin Kaepernick. They get the death sentence, okay? And I'm serious about this. They get the ball dropped on them, but we got armed, toting people out here that are dangerous, that nobody's paying attention to, and he's not killing people of color, okay? So this is an issue for everybody, okay? And I want to say this. This is not a colored issue, people. This is an issue for everybody because he picked out these people. And he didn't think that there was going to be a bunch of colored people at a country western concert, okay?
What's the old saying? Shooting. What's it? Shooting pigs in the barrel. What's that? How's that saying?
Shooting fish in the barrel.
Fish in the barrel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I really think that I really want to come back and say that it was a vendetta. I'm looking at it as it was a vendetta. There's some.
Who you think there he had a problem with that
I don't know. I don't know if it's the people of his.
Since you bring that up, now this is brand new to me, but I just came up with a theory off the top of my head because his father was allegedly might have been connected to the outfit, to Chicago. What do they call him? The
syndicate.
The syndicate.
Okay, but
the syndicate in
okay,
Chicago.
right.
So I'm thinking that you know what, this might be payback from those mobsters that all these corporate people came and took over Vegas.
No. But let me say this. Let me say this right here.
That's just a theory off the top of my head.
This is another problem I have. He never seen his father. Okay, he don't know his father. So his father being on the FBI most 10 wanted list and having all his legal problem and a bank robber and running
Psychopathic tendencies. Some of that stuff is hereditary.
Right, okay, there go again. Yes, it's hereditary. So let's bring it back down. But here go a guy that showed no signs of being sick. He was in. He invested people's money. He took care of people's I mean, he was at the top of his game.
He showed no emotional disturbance at all to nobody.
Everybody's saying, which gets
They
me
were shocked.
right.
Everyone was shocked.
Everybody's saying that that he was the nicest guy. He's the right. He's the nicest guy in the world. Okay, he's a guy that do anything for you. He's a guy. I mean, he's the guy, and he's the high roller at the stakes, and he's spending $10,000, $100,000. He's winning $40,000. I wish I could win $50,000 tomorrow. Okay,
right.
But I mean, he had everything. Women.
But how many rich people have you heard go out there and commit mass murder?
Well, that's what.
I ain't heard of nobody. He's the first that I've heard of.
That's
a rich person.
Well, no, rich people do it all the time, Sax. But they send soldiers. They send the troops to do the dirty work for them. Filthy rich people do it all the time. They commit mass murder all the time. Probably on a weekly basis.
Oh no! Did you say that?
Hey, but to go into it and on a serious note, this right here, Facebook Live, thank you for being with us. Hey, I want y'all to really stay with us. We got some stuff for you. We're going to put out some information so y'all can get your hats made. The Indians jumping off the Daytona. They're going to beat the Yankees.
Oh, yeah. They looking real good right now.
Hey,
I think they're going to make up for last
The Cavs
last
getting
year's
ready
World
to
Series.
do something. And I don't want to know. Hey, in the
You know
chat
what?
room.
You know what? Hey, Sax, you probably a fan. You probably glad that Kyrie left, man. But this is the thing. The Cavs, they gonna have a good season this year, And I love Kyrie, but just because he left, I think we gonna bring another ship home this.
Oh yeah,
this
oh
season.
yeah, we're gonna do this. Okay. And I want to say this to the Oakland-based people, and this is especially you, Michael Wilkins, because I know you the one to put that up there. Do not talk about my Cleveland Browns, okay? I'm not going to have anybody say anything about my Cleveland Browns.
You know what?
At all.
I'm sitting here thinking you wear a different jersey every show, but I don't think I've seen you wear a Browns jersey one time.
I'm saying, hey, I have on, not this year yet, and I'm going to say this next week. I will have my Jim Brown throwback. Okay. Top of the line. I'm waiting for the hat lady to make my hat, so when I throw out my top of the line throwback with Jim Brown, I'm gonna have her hat on, and then y'all gonna see some real Cleveland Brown stuff. Okay.
How you gonna represent the Cleveland Browns, but you don't wear none of their jerseys or hats, but you gonna talk mess about
Sax man, if you go back and look at some shows, you'll see me in Browns jerseys and stuff, and Indian stuff. Okay.
Sax, you gonna have to do the research, man. We're gonna have to get to the bottom of this.
You gotta do your homework.
Hey, Tom. He was just wearing some orange and brown. He didn't have no brown number.
He was wearing Charlie Brown.
He was wearing Charlie Brown sweater.
Now, next week we're going to have Theopolis Cabinets coming in from Great Abyssinia Baptist Church. We're going to try to hook that in. We also trying to get some other activists on the show, and we're going to be talking some serious issues, especially.
I talked to the Attorney General the other day, Sean.
Yes, I
see.
I seen the video and I seen the picture. What was up with that?
He had came in because we look at the several government offices and everything in my route, my patrol route, and I was at one of them when he came in. He was kind of lost, so I showed him where he needed to go, which Department of Labor and Department of Justice and all that kind of stuff. I showed him this, and as I was showing him around, he and I was discussing some things about since he's running for governor. We were discussing some things about laws that need to be tweeted a little bit. He understood what I was talking about, and he said if he do becomes governor of Ohio, then he would take some of my ideas. I'm not joking. He would take some of my ideas and he would consider them because it made sense.
Man, see that just blew his whole legitimacy for office right there,
Oh
Sax.
no! Did you say that? Oh no! Did you say that?
He was like, hey man, here's my wife's cookbook. Check it out.
Ask him, did he see what happened to Eric Brewer? Tell him, like, if he has any serious intent to get into office, he needs to steer clear from you, far and clear from you.
Either you're part of the solution or goddamn it, you are the fucking problem. Either you're part of the solution or goddamn it, you are the fucking problem.
He understood where I was coming from. He said, make a lot of sense.
Sax, man, this is the question I want to ask. Hey, this coming out of the chat room because people, we just having us some fun right here and everything. But the chat room want to know is when you gonna do your interview with Eric Brewer to find out what happened.
He hasn't returned my call. I sent him one to ask him about it. He hasn't returned my call. I'm still waiting for a response.
He's sulking right now, Sax. You gotta give him some time.
Because you know what, San Diego's in the house, and San Diego's asking us about the show that we were supposed to do of that arrest out of Boston Heights. And I'm telling everybody in the chat room, we have that show. It's done. But we're holding the show because we want Saxman to do one more video before because after this show's done, I doubt if Saxman ever get to talk to him again.
Hey, when he start,
let me get my interview in first.
And we actually want Saxman, Tone. We actually want Saxman in studio with us when we do that show.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because we want the policeman here to tell us about the laws and when we break it down. And we also want your boy's friend, okay, here so he can explain why this happened, okay? So, Saxman, you're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be an advocate.
You got to wear your dress. What's you guys' dress uniform? You got to wear your dress uniform, Sax.
I ain't going to pull on my class.
Hey, Sax, you heard he said a dress uniform, okay? you didn't catch that. You didn't catch that, did you?
No, I can get him now. If you can get him in to agree to come into the studio, I'll make sure I have that day off.
Well, he's not. I can tell you, he's not going to come into the studio, but we are going to do that show as soon as I get things together. But Sax, man, it's that time. So go ahead and tell everybody and everybody in Facebook and social media land. It's time for you to sign off and get back on patrol before your sergeant get a hold of you.
Get on back on patrol before my supervisor get on me, and then I have to beat him up. So everybody has a good one. Tone, you be good, behave yourself. Get out of Doug's chair, because you ain't funny enough. Sean, you be good. I'll see you soon, man.
All right. That was Sax Man,
Sax.
our man on the beat. Hey, Roland Mitchell, welcome there, bro. We're going to need to get you into the studio also. And my man, Charles Russell, giving us some love on Facebook out of the 216. Michael Wilson still sitting on the I-10 in L.A. rush hour. Mike, you've been there almost 3 hours, man. I hope you get home before it get too late. Hey, we want to wish the Cleveland Indians all the best and bring it home to us. And the Cavaliers is playing, I think, tonight or tomorrow. Expedition, y'all go down there and see them. And my Cleveland Browns is going to bring one. Nobody in the chat room, I already told you, especially YouTube, no talking about my Cleveland Browns, or I'm going to have to ban you out. Hey, we're going to post up the info for the hat lady, and we're going to get all her information, and we're going to show you the stuff she got. I want y'all to show her some love. She's out of Cleveland, Ohio. Our show is based out of Cleveland, Ohio, but it's heard in 17 cities, and it's broadcast out, and we all over social media. You can see us on demand at SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Vitamo, Speaker.com, and YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, go to STMK Radio 100's Facebook page. Like that. Like Stop the Madness. Keep it 100. And if you want to hear us talk about something or you want something on the show, just inbox us at STMK Radio 100 at AOL.com, and we will make it happen. Tone the Stone as everybody say, it's about that
Man makes
time.
it big, it's big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Following the ramble down the yellow brick road, please believe at the end ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Well, everybody, Facebook, YouTube, Snapgram, Flipagram, and Snapcheck. It's that time. Earlier today, we had our celebration and remembrance as our 1 year broadcasting here on Stop the Madness and Keep It 100. Our anniversary today. And Tony Stone, I want to pop the champagne bottle for us. It's time for champagne because we have completed our 1 year program. And this is for all of us, Tony Stone. I know you can't drink because you ain't old enough yet. But people on Facebook, we're going to party today. This is our 1 year anniversary, and we appreciate everything. Tony Stone, what you got to say to our good people?
Well, definitely. Congratulations on STMK Radio 100's 1 year anniversary. You said 100th episode as well?
That's correct.
So congratulations on that. God bless Let. We're always going to miss her. You know, that was a beautiful tribute at the beginning of the show. We're always going to miss her. We're always going to love her. She'll always be a part here in this studio, or where, you know, if this studio turns out to be some penthouse somewhere downtown, whatever, she'll always be a part of this, what's going on. So much love to her. Much love to you, Sean Sachs. Thanks, Mr. 216, for calling in. James, we didn't get James on the phone, but thanks to everybody, all the
Yeah, James
contributors.
didn't call us. Next week, James, you're going to be on the phone before Sax Man because we're going to go back into this because I want to talk to you about that.
So thank all the contributors and thank all the listeners. Keep listening. Keep doing what you do. Keep showing us our love and support, and keep getting bigger and better.
Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, Flipagram, L.A., Savannah, Jacksonville, ATL, Cleveland, Ohio, D.C., on our 100th anniversary right here, our first year anniversary and our 100th show. Hey, we're on the air to stay. We're the #1 and talk show on the web, and we thank you for all the love that you have given us and showed us, and we appreciate it. We're not going nowhere. We're going to bigger and better heights, and we want to thank all of you, especially our 17 cities. San Diego, we want to thank you for being with us for 1 year. We can't even imagine. We did our celebration for our vice president, and as I said, when we did the celebration, we would never, ever forget her. She would always be with us. Let is in the sky. Hey, I miss you, and thank you. And as always, peace, love, and happiness. Until next week, catch us in the sky. Love ya. See ya.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio 100.